We're back for our Saturday preview of Journey to the Tourney, Thanksgiving weekend at Lakota West High School. We're picking the winners of these games, talking about some players as we go. 10 a.m. game, we've got Roger Bacon, who's our number 2 Division II team, against Beaver Creek.
I'm going with the upset. I'm going to go Beaver Creek over Roger Bacon. I know you have them at number 2 in the state, and I'm going to go with Beaver Creek here. I know they're deep. They got some talent. Alyssa Hall. There's definitely some kids on that team that can play, and I'm going with the underdog.
Probably not smart. I'm going to go against Ed Zink here, who's the all-time winningest coach in Ohio. But I'm going to go with Roger Bacon. They've got Clarissa Craig, 2021 post player, really good. Kylie Shepard, Lyric Harris. I just think they have too much talent. Beaver Creek may be a little deeper than they are, but I think from an overall talent standpoint, Roger Bacon should have a great year. Our 11:30 a.m. game is Proctorville Fairland versus Fort Loramie. Fairland, a top 10 Division III team. Fort Loramie, a top 10 Division IV team. Should be a great matchup. Hopefully a great crowd there before we get the Ohio State-Michigan game going.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a good matchup. That's tough to pick. I mean, I really like Coach Buchanan, and I like Fairland. I saw them play Highland last year, and they really gave them about everything they could handle.
In the tournament?
Yeah, in the regional semis. I really like Kelsey Warnock for Fairland. They definitely have a couple other players that can play. I'm afraid they lost Emily Chapman, who was as good a point guard in Ohio last year, now at Cedarville. It's toughest position to replace, especially when it's your main ball handler and your go-to scorer.
So you're going to pick somebody at some point, or are you going to
I'm going to go against Fairland and pick Fort Loramie.
Gotcha. I'm going to go with Fort Loramie as well. Carlos Eagle does a great job there. Again, I think they're probably a year away from being a potential Final Four team. But again, this should be a great game, late morning game with, again, nice crowd, a bunch of talent on the floor, and should be a great atmosphere. Our 1:10 p.m. game, two contrasting styles here. You've got Centreville against my alma mater, Berlin Highland. Who I'll probably make upset in a couple minutes. So go ahead.
I'm sure you will, but I'm going to go with Berlin Highland. I know Centreville has a young superstar, but Highland is deep. They're going to bring 10, 11, maybe 12 kids in the game, and Morgan Yoder is a fantastic sophomore point guard. Zoe Miller is a big-time sophomore post player, and then they got kids around them that can just flat-out play. Krista Choyer, Horn. Bryn Mullet is another really good sophomore. And a superstar has never, ever intimidated Berlin Highland. That's why they play games like this, so they can prepare for games like Afrocentric. 100% going with Berlin Highland.
Yeah, I mean, Dave is one of the best coaches in the state, and preparing, their team, their staff does an incredible job. Like you said, I think earlier, they're younger than they typically been. They were also bigger than they typically been. So they'll be playing a little differently and should have a great season. However, I'm going to go with Centreville. Cody McMahon, one of the best freshmen in the state. This will be her first game as a high school player, though. But I think she'll have a huge game. We got Amy Velasco, point guard, that's really good.
Really good.
Some shooting. But it's interesting, Centreville being a Division I team. This will actually be, playing Highland. Highland will actually have a lot more size than they do, and so. Very guard-oriented game, though, in general, and ton of talent on the floor. So really excited to see how this one plays out.
That matchup between Velasco and Morgan Yoder is going to be amazing. That is going to be worth the price of admission. I'm really looking forward to that. And Highland's got some pretty good freshmen, too, and maybe not superstar like McMahon, but Ayla Miller and Jenna Yoder are two really good freshmen, and they'll be playing their first.
Zoe Miller is one of my favorite players in the state to watch. I mean, she's just such a tough kid inside, and I feel like there's not that many true post players out there anymore that love being inside and being a post player, and she's just tough as nails and kind of their enforcer as well. So it should be a great game. 2:45, we've got Solon against Kettering Fairmont. Solon is coming off a Final Four year. They've actually been in the Final Four 4 out of the last 5 years. Lost a lot to graduation with Valencia Myers going to Florida State. They had 2 of their guards went to Akron and Kent, but still have a lot of talent returning. Will be a little bit younger, more guard-oriented probably this year than what they've been. Then you have Fairmont, who is probably the biggest team in the state. Will start 4 players, 6 foot or above. highlighted by Maddie Westfeld, one of the best players in the state. So it should be again a very contrasting style here from guards to bigs as well.
Yeah, Solon has Haley Weaver that's a very
Really
talented young lady, sophomore. And I should probably learn my lesson, because every time I pick against Solon, they win, and they rarely lose at events like this.
So Trish wants you to pick against them now, I think.
I'm going to go with Fairmont. I think they just have too much firepower, and Solon's so young and inexperienced right now, and small in stature, which, may or may not be a huge disadvantage, but Fairmont's pretty loaded, so I'm going to go with Fairmont this time.
Yeah, Weaver's a great player. I think this will be a breakout year for her now that it's kind of her team. But Fairmont, like you said, just has so much height to work with, and then they're all very skilled too. You're talking about 6'2" kids who can also shoot the three and rebound, and run and all that kind of stuff. And so new first year coach Jeremy Finn will do a great job there. So I'm going to go with Fairmont as well. 4:25 p.m. game, we've got Westerville South against Huber Heights Wayne. Going to be a great game. You've got 10 Division I players on the floor at one time. New coach over at Westerville South. You've got Coach Trice over at Huber Heights Wayne. High-level players, BCS-type kids on both teams. A little bit of different styles as well, though, but this could be one of the best games of the tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's so even, it's hard to call. I'm probably in the minority, but I believe Destiny Bohannon could be the best player on the floor, even though South has a couple Ohio State kids. I really like Destiny, obviously Bree Hall as well, but I'm going to go with Wayne in this one, and I think, again, I'm going to stick with Bohannon as I believe the best kid on the floor. Yeah,
I think Destiny, and have had the privilege to coach her, she's one of the most underappreciated players in the state. She just does what her team needs her to do. She runs her team. She can score when she needs to. She just does a little bit of everything. And, with a high-powered team like that, she has to play so many different roles to keep that team moving in the right direction. Great point guard. Bree Hall, like you said, high-level player, one of the best players in the country in 2021. Had a great summer as well. Westerville South has 5 Division I players, but highlighted by Gabby Hutchison and Issa Jones, Peyton Geis, Summer Pitzer. Going to Ohio State, respectively Ohio State, and then Peyton to OU and Summer to Indiana State. So ton of talent on the floor. Could be a really just up-tempo, fun game to watch. I'm actually going to go with Huber Heights Wayne as well, but I could see this game going either way.
That surprises me.
Yeah. Be surprised. 6 o'clock game. This could be one of the best games we see all year, potentially. Last year we had Columbus Afrocentric against Mason, which I believe it was an overtime, if not a double overtime game, but one of the best games we saw all year. This year we have Mount Notre Dame, who's our number 1 team in Division I, playing against Columbus Afrocentric, the number 1 team in Division III. Arguably, you could say either is the best team on paper in the state. I think a lot of people would say Afrocentric is from a talent standpoint too.
Yeah.
Great players on both sides. You've got everything. You've got shooting, coaching, rebounding. Everything on these two teams. And so this game could really turn into an instant classic. It's a hard one to pick.
I mean, it's piggybacking on the South and Wayne game.
Yep.
I mean, how could, as a basketball fan, how could you ask for any more? I'm going to go with Mount Notre Dame. I believe that they are a top team in the state, and one of my favorite kids, Gabby Marshall. I'm sure that's one of your favorite kids as well.
It is.
I really like her, and they obviously have other kids, but I'm going to go with Mount Notre Dame, and it could go either way. You could flip a coin on this one.
I'm going to flip the coin the other way. Again, a tough game to pick. Like you said, Gabby Marshall is unbelievable. Has really continued to enhance her game every time we see her. On Mount Notre Dame, you start 5 Division I players. You also have one of the best freshmen in the state and in the country in KK Bransford. Mm-hmm. Great senior leadership with Gabby, who's going to Iowa, and Julia Heffling, who's going to Loyola Chicago. And just a ton of experience on that team, too. The last 2 players we mentioned, have won a state championship. You got Makaira Cook going to Miami of Ohio. I could keep going.
Yeah.
Then you have Afrocentric, who's led by Jordan Horston going to Tennessee. One of the best players we've seen here in a long time. Niam Thornton, Alexia Smith, they've got size. They just have a little bit of everything. They probably have a little bit more size than Mount Notre Dame does. Again, I think two contrasting styles. Mount Notre Dame will probably switch up their defense a little bit more. Afrocentric's going to do what they do and try to turn you over and make it a transition game. But I'm going to go with Columbus Afrocentric in this game. Should be a great one.
Will for sure be a good one.
Last game of the day, we've got the host school Lakota West against Northwestern from Indiana, who, like we said, is coming off of a state championship. This will be Lakota West's first game of the year, Northwestern second in the event, as they play Newark the night before.
Well, I mean, I don't have fun picking against Coach Fishman in his own gym. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I'm going with Lakota West. I don't care if the Cavs come in there.
Right now, that's not saying very much. But
Fishman's going to have the advantage.
Right.
You know, I don't know a whole lot about the Northwestern Indiana team. Like you said, they have several D1 kids, but you have to play against a team like Lakota West to understand their pressure and what they put on the floor. They've beat many great teams that just aren't ready for that. You can't simulate that in practice. You can't simulate that in a scrimmage. Teams that beat Lakota West, they've played them many times and they're used to the style and they know what to expect. So I kind of feel like Northwestern might be a little blindsided on this one, and I'm going to go with Coach Fishman and Lakota West.
Yeah, and it's going to be a great experience to have Northwestern there. They're going against two great teams and coaches with Newark and Coach Shoemate, and then Lakota West with Coach Fishman. Similarly, I'm not going to choose against Lakota West in their own building. Nevaeh Dean, recently committed to Virginia Tech. The best thing about Nevaeh is she just does whatever her team needs her to do. She'll take charges, she'll do anything. And this year, her team's going to need her to score a lot more, and she's more than capable of doing that. So I'm really excited to see her, in this opening game and how she responds. They've got Chance Gray coming in as a freshman, very highly touted as well. They actually have had 3, I believe, seniors transfer in this year, so they're probably a little bit older. More experienced than what people think that they are, because they lost a lot to graduation. But I'm going to go with Lakota West as well. It's going to be a great end to the day. They always bring an awesome crowd and, incredible environment there to end the day on Saturday. So just really excited for that game. So that's our coverage of Saturday's journey to the tourney, and we'll look forward to previewing Sunday.